All right, we're jumping into a session I just finished up about 15-20 minutes ago in iRacing in MX5 Cup. I've been having a lot of fun this season in MX5 Cup. It is a rookies series or starter series in iRacing meant to help new drivers get their feet under them. But the great thing about iRacing is it's based on, a ranking and skill system. So as you level up, as you increase your ELO, which is essentially how it works, that sort of a system, like we've seen, of course, originated in chess and popularized in gaming by games like Rainbow Six. iRacing does something really similar with iRating, which is an ELO-based system, where it's a zero-sum game. As you win races, as you defeat drivers, you take some of their iRating, and when they defeat you, they take some of your iRating. And so as you climb up and you get more iRating accumulated, you're only going to race drivers that are closer to your iRating level, which means that a rookie series like this, once you're in a grid with a bunch of guys who've been doing this a couple of years, well, it just ends up being good racing. So what's a lot of fun about this, I think, is that MX5 Cup ends up being an excellent car for sim racing in general. It's, we're not professionals. It is a little bit slower. It's a momentum car. It's got really exaggerated and tactile weight transfer, and you can really throw the car around a lot. And in the past, the car had a bit of a reputation in this sim for being a bit fragile, but they've really come a long way with that, and you can really do some door banging now, which is much more similar to how this thing is in real life. So what we're spectating here is the qualifying. You get 2 lap shots to try to set your spot on the grid, and I went out there and qualified. First lap was a 121 and change, which was good enough for like P6 or P7. I believe I am car number 6. Yeah, it's there on my windshield. So the other thing about the way this works, if you don't watch a lot of iRacing, is your number represents your ranking out of the drivers in the session, and there are 12 racers in this grid, which means I am smack in the middle. That means that I'm essentially predicted to qualify 6th. And my first lap, I think, had me in like 6th or 7th, maybe 8th. With a 121, I think like 121.3. But this lap, my second lap, I managed to get a really good exit out of the final corner and carry it all the way to the edge without getting that off track by touching the gravel. And so that gave me an extra few tenths down the straight, and I pulled out a 120.9, which wasn't quite a personal best, but it was good enough for P3 on the grid. That's another great thing about, being in a nice tight skill grid like this, is I think the gap between P1 and P12 was only like a second and a half at most for lap time. So all really close drivers, ready to race each other here. So we're going to take this thing ahead a little bit, and we are going to get to the actual race. I probably won't talk the whole time. I just wanted to record this one and show it off because I thought it was a lot of fun. We had a really good battle. It was very interesting. So let's go ahead and get into it. We are at Summit Point. This is an old iRacing track, been in the sim for a long time. And I think it's a blast. It's really great for like momentum cars like this, slower cars like this. So, I started off P3, as you can see here. So P1 in front, P2 off to the left, and then myself. One interesting observation we had here was that P2, the red and black car, he seemed kind of allergic to the concept of, I gotta fast forward here. He seemed a little allergic to the concept of actually making an overtake move. So we saw a lot of like him getting up on P1 and pushing P1. Of course, lap 1, this makes a lot of sense. So one thing about a sim, any sim really, but iRacing for sure, is that your tires get colder while you're sitting there waiting for the cars to get ready to go. And when you first take off, your tires are not ready to race. They're, they've come down to closer to ambient temperatures. And so if you really drive the car like you're on lap 5 or 6 on lap 1, you're really likely to spin it out. So you have to be careful. So you can't just lean into it the whole time. You've got to kind of be careful. So I think lap 1 here, I kind of felt like the guy was being courteous, not over pushing the guy in P1, because everybody's just trying to make sure they can get some temperature into the tires so we can actually have us a good race here. But as we went along, it became evident to me that he wasn't ever going to make a move. Like, he just kept getting close, but not actually throwing his car in whenever he had the chance. And so, eventually we might have to do something about that. Let's cycle through the cameras here and figure out if we can find a spot here while we're on the straight that we want to ride in. Yeah, we'll do cockpit for a minute. So this is essentially my view. I race in virtual reality with a big screen beyond too. So when I'm actually driving, I'm looking around, but I found that video recordings of VR gameplay aren't always the most pleasant for people to watch. So, I might flick my head left or right to check a mirror or see who's next to me. Um, Really fun and immersive, but I think that it's a lot more pleasant as a spectator just to watch it like this. So, yeah, we'll ride here for a bit. It's really fun when you can get into a race like this where everybody is, running 2/10 to 3/10 off each other's pace every lap and able to pick up the toe and push down the straights where, where everybody's going to brake. Everybody's roughly at the same pace. And in order to get an overtake done, somebody's got to make a mistake or you're going to have to do something special. But one thing that's really fun with Miatas is they're momentum cars. And so, and they're really, they benefit a lot from the draft. I'm actually backing off here a little bit on purpose to try to get a better exit here without worrying about colliding with this guy, but I didn't quite maximize it, so I'm just going to follow along a bit more. But yeah, like on the straight here where we're lined up, aerodynamics are playing a huge role, and we are able to pick up some speed off of each other, and I'm able to kind of get carried down here. And so I'm kind of in a spectator role right now with these guys, just waiting to see what's going to happen. I'm intentionally trying to run about 4/10 off of them because if one of them crashes into the other one, I want to be in a position where I can take advantage of that and not become collateral damage. Especially as close as they've been riding and as much rubbing as they've been doing. It clearly being respectful, like I don't feel like the guy in P2 is trying to wreck him or anything. But at this point, I feel like I don't know if you can tell it from the video. It doesn't seem as obvious to me now as it did when I was driving. I guess because my foot's on the brake pedal, my foot's on the throttle, I can tell exactly what I'm doing when I'm driving. And if I put this up here, you can see, I believe. Let's see if you can see. Yeah, so you can see in like the lower middle there, the steering inputs and the brake and throttle inputs. So I might be able to, I'll leave this up for a bit. We might be able to kind of see. I ran a little wide there, so I had to give up a little pace, but. One thing that I had noticed up to this point was that I'm lifting more than I want to, and I'm braking deeper or more than I want to and taking more time to get on power because I kept getting into situations where I felt like if I got on power where I wanted to, I was going to run up on these guys too much, and we might have an issue. So I felt like, and I didn't feel like it was because of P2, I felt like it was because the guy in the lead was slower than him and I. But it's sometimes deceptive in Miatas because they're momentum cars, and the draft is so powerful that when you're running in the toe, you're always going to be a little faster than the guy ahead of you. So yeah, the guy in front might actually be as quick as us, but we're just getting the benefit of his slipstream. And guys further down the grid clearly having some drama. Yeah, like this corner especially, a lot of times I kept feeling like I was having to brake slower and lighter and longer than I wanted to because it felt like they weren't, carrying as much speed into or through that corner as you can. But once again, it can be deceptive. But I was definitely getting ready for something to happen. We've been kind of doing the procession here for half the race. So now we're in an interesting spot. So I'm tucked in behind this guy about 0.1 behind, and I'm getting a lot of overspeed. So I'm done waiting. I'm gonna box him in behind P1, and I'm gonna brake as late as I know I can and still make this apex. You can see that brake pedal there. I had it pretty pinned for a while, but got off and able to get the rotation. Let's see. Yeah, so let's take this back just a bit. Finally get a little action. And I want to... There we go. So I managed to get through. And now he's tucked in behind me, and I've got the race lead. So I'm curious if he's just going to push me like he did P1 or if he's really going to make a move. And he does throw it alongside me here, but then he kind of backs right out. He doesn't go for the move in this corner, which is a popular place to go. What I found is that corner really sucks to go for an overtake in because you immediately have this right-hander here. And this right-hander, if you're on the inside, it's much easier to get through here and be ahead by the time you get to this curve here and then set up for this this short straightaway. So I almost never can get an overtake down on the outside there. So that's probably why he backed out, was because he probably knew it's not really a move you can make. So we tuck in here for the all-important run down the main straight. Got a pretty good exit. Carried speed out pretty far. But, you know, he's tucked in here. The interesting part about this situation, though, is when you got all of these cars lined up like this, is everybody's kind of got the benefit of the tow. And also, when he tucks in behind me like that and taps me, I'm getting benefit as well. So, but it's clear that the mint car there, he would like to race. So as you can see, he is tucked in. We all are. He's going to go for it. And I am 3 wide now. Little rubbing. Pushed red wide a little bit more there than I actually expected. I was trying to push him to the outside, but, you know, no harm, no foul. It's Miatas. That's how the racing goes. And now it's interesting because we've got a new guy in the mix. Taking this back here just a second through this corner, I want to highlight something here. Okay, yeah, so here's the perspective of the car that was alongside me, right? So we're coming up on this corner here. He is, let's get a camera. Okay, so here's the setup, right? So he's alongside me on the outside. We're coming up on this left-hander, leaders ahead. As we've seen here through this corner, we've had a little action. We break deep. Mint takes the inside. I rub a little bit with red, you know, not on purpose. Nobody gets hurt, no big deal. I did push red out a little bit there by doing that, though. And so now we've got a new contender that was able to slip through since he wasn't being contested. Going into this corner, this is a really hairy situation to be in when you're in the driver's seat. Let me see if I can't get to a cockpit view without having to step out here. So from his perspective and my perspective, we're going into this corner. For me, I know he's on my right. I'm in VR. I'm paying attention. This is a hairy situation to go too wide through this kink, but I know that I am ahead. I'm ahead, and he is on the outside. So I'm ahead. So I feel like the corner should be mine, and he's on the outside, which means that you know, I can really modulate this corner, and I should be able to have more speed going through it, especially since I'm already ahead. And he's going to be scared to get pushed out to the sand. So I should be able to take this corner without too much contestation from him. So let's just kind of see how it plays out. So he preemptively immediately lifts right there, right? So as soon as I started talking about it, he knew he was going to benefit a lot more to not try to go too wide through this corner and cost us both a bunch of speed. Better for him to go ahead and let me keep P2. He's already gained a position because he got past black and red. And now he can tuck in behind me and get a much better exit and line through this corner. And now he's got a chance to kind of chase me down and try to fight for something. And he's already gone up from being in fourth to third, which is a podium finish. So now he's going to kind of get a chance to watch me and Mint duke it out here. And he's kind of in the position I was in before when I was watching Red and Mint, which is that, you know, waiting to see if something happens. But it looks like he's not very aggressive, and it looks like he doesn't have the pace. And so he's been relegated back to P4 for spectator position on what happens next. Back to me. Decent enough exit. We're going to head down. So I cut back up to him, you know, partially from the slipstream, but also largely from, you know, I just think I am a little faster than him. Also, I'm pretty sure I was carrying fastest lap at this point too. So I do think that just on sheer pace, I was one of the fastest cars out here. I mean, I did qualify P3. And I've had multiple little things go along where I've been able to sort of decide how far to run behind these guys. So not some kind of dramatic difference, like, you know, nothing movie worthy. Just, I think I'm doing a 10th or two a lap faster than most of these guys if I'm cut loose. And it's allowed me to be a little bit more strategic about my runs here. But, you know, he's clearly he's clearly been caught by me, and now we're on the main straight and I'm running probably 2/10 behind. And the tow is really going to pull me in here, and I'm not going to wait around. And he goes for the defensive line. And so what are we going to do here? I think this is worth maybe a new camera. He goes for the defensive line, and I like this one. So he goes for the defensive line, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stay a little closer to the middle of the track, which is what he's doing too. So we're basically both kind of playing chess here a little bit with, he doesn't want to get all the way to the inside, because if so, I can then move over and take up that free space. And then he's got no room to actually handle this corner up here, and he'll lose a lot of speed. At the same time, so that's why he's staying close to the center line. Similarly to me, now that he's given up some space, I want to squeeze him over a little bit, and I don't want to give Red and Black an obvious place to go. So what I'm doing here is I am basically, instead of opening this up all the way and being on the white line like you'd normally be to really maximize this corner, I'm trying to ride over here a bit, give Red and Black nowhere to go, and I'm going to use all my overspeed to get as much distance on him as I can before this corner, so I can brake as late and as hard as I can, and just really try to gauge the distance to this corner and try to still leave him space on the inside, because unless I fully overtake him here in this braking zone and fully trust him to not hit me, I've got to leave him that inside line for this corner. So I wait until well past the 3-cone. I intentionally give a lot of space, and I try to just focus on carrying as much speed as I can. And it worked out. I think that, you know, I didn't do the absolute best line through there. I left too much space, but it was enough, and he was worried about Red and Black enough that I was able to get through. So he would like it back. This is the final lap, right? So this is the last chance, but this is a tough spot to be in for him on the inside here. We talked about this before, and I'm kind of covering off that middle, taking a real angular braking line here. Not giving him anywhere to go. And even if he had gotten the inside, this is that segment where unless you're on the inside here, it's very hard to get through in the lead. So basically now what he's going to try to do, and what this race is going to hinge on, is if he can do a perfect job through these corners, which I don't believe he's doing because he seems to be losing just a little bit of distance on me, and then maximize his toe up through this straight, and he can do a equal or better job than me in this corner, or scare me in this corner, then he could potentially overtake me on the straight before the start finish. But I didn't take the bait, and even though I didn't get an excellent line there, he clearly had no appetite for risk, and I was able to drive it home. So that was a fun race. You know, one funny thing about sim racing is
fun race, guys. Thanks for that.
One of the fun things about sim racing is that, you know, the whole time you're driving, you're fighting the suspension, the brakes, you're thinking about your tire temperatures and your grip, and about the pebbles that have been drug out onto the track. And there's so many ways that things can go wrong for you on your own that it's definitely never boring, and it's a very strategic thing. There's a the whole time you're thinking about the cars behind, the cars ahead, trying to maximize your points, and you don't want to get wrecked out because it's very much a risk reward thing where if you if I were to crash out, I lose probably 80 iRating from this race, so I'm going to drop a decent bit. But if I just get 5th or 6th or 4th, I'm going to get 10, 15, 30 iRating out of the race. So like it's not an all or nothing thing. A points finish is, for me, being car number 6, that's really not actually a very good metric, like what car number you are. Like pretty much if you could finish in the top 5 or 6, you're going to make away with some points, anywhere from like, single digit points up to a couple dozen even. And so there's, if you're running P2, it's not worth it to get the race win to risk your race. And so that makes it a little bit of a game of kind of head games, or a little bit there, right? Because you can really try to maximize that and scare people, and play head games a little bit with people, since there's more to lose than just taking a position back for a finish. Going into any race, I try to have the mindset of any top 5 finish is a win, because it is. Any top 5 finish, you're going to come away with points, and you had a good time. So a race win's always nice, though.